Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you could join me today. Um, it appears that my software was streaming, but I don't know if I was streaming onto YouTube. So I may have to go in and edit out some of this video because I was watching a video on my phone, and you probably heard that in the background. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to continue with our analogous colors. So yesterday we dyed three colors. We dyed orange, and red. And today we're going to take a look at those pieces of fabric that we dyed. To me, they're not as vibrant as the colors we did last week. Last week we did yellow, orange, and orange. And I think the differences in the colors last week show up more than the differences in the color yesterday. But either way, we're going to take a look at those and see how they look. So if you're here, why don't you pop in the chat and let me know if you're here and say hi. And if you are here, I'm so glad you could join me today. So let's go ahead and switch over to the overhead camera and we'll talk about the fabrics that we dyed yesterday. Okay, so here are the pieces we dyed yesterday. This top piece was created using that funny shaped resist. And here you can tell I put the red here, I put the orange on this side, and then I put the red orange on this side. I hope this is streaming. It appears that I'm having some trouble. Hi, Colleen. Let me know, Colleen. Thanks for being here today. I really appreciate that. Let me know how the video's on your end. On my end, good morning, Virginia. Good to see you again. Guys, let me know how the video's on your end. On my end, it seems to be lagging a little bit. So I'm not sure why, but so yesterday I dyed three pieces of fabric, and the colors that I used was orange, and red. And this is the first piece I dyed, or one of the pieces that I dyed, and I had an odd shape resist here, so it's kind of like almost like a mouth. Okay, it looks good. Okay, good. Oh, good. So I put the red here in the middle where this opening was. I put the orange on one end and red orange on the other end. Now with the red, I did tone it down a little bit with the neutral gray because it's a good idea when you're working with multiple colors. Some colors pretty vibrant and other colors a little bit toned down. You don't want everything at the same level. You like this pattern? Yeah, I like this way, the way this one came out. Let me go get the resist and I'll show you what it was. I'll be right back. So these were the resist pieces, and this used to be one piece. It was one of those small cutting boards you can get at the Dollar Tree, and this was the handle. And I cut it off and cut it in half, and you can see what I did here. I placed it on the fabric, so the fabric was folded along here, and I placed it on the fabric, and I added the red dye in here, sort of like the mouth. It created kind of a mouth. And I added orange dye on this side and the red orange on this side. And I used this before and I didn't really like it, but I like the way it came out on here. So these colors are very closely related, so you don't get a high impact when you're using analogous colors. You get a very subtle impact here. And like I said, I did tone down the red. So this is the red. I toned it down with some gray, and I think I could have probably gotten away with toning it down a little bit more. But I like the way this pattern came out. The orange really stands out in this. The red orange actually kind of gets lost. You don't really, If you didn't know I used red orange, you probably couldn't tell it a bit here. Maybe a little bit here. It is different from the red, but not a whole lot. But I really like this. I like the way the resist piece, so I'll have to use it again and keep that in mind. So this is the next piece, and this just used one of my little narrow bars that I use a lot. And remember, this is our flag fold, and you could see the fold lines here. So this is the type of fold that they fold the flag in when they're given to fallen soldiers. And I really like this fold because it gives a really nice repeating pattern. And what I like about the Itajime technique is you get a secondary pattern. So you get the one that draws your eyes the most, and then you get a secondary pattern. So on this one, I placed the bar diagonally. The red was placed here. Orange was placed here, and red orange was placed here, and they just bled together in the middle. So didn't have three distinct areas to apply the dye to, but I really like the way this one came out. So you guys let me know if you have any questions on any of them, and we can go into more detail. So this is the final one, and this one was a triangle of ceramic tile that I used, and I placed it. So here is the fold. Where's the fold? Let's see. So here's the fold. I placed the triangle with the flat edge here and the pointed edge down here. I put the red, orange here in this corner, and red, orange in this corner. And you can see how everything kind of bleeds together. But I really like the way this turned out because, look, you get this shape with the orange. You get another shape here, another shape here, and another one here. And that's really fun when you can get all of these shapes from just the one fold and the way you apply the dye. And what I was hoping with this one, let me bring out one from last week, and I want to show you. And this is the one that we did last week, and I used the same tile. And generally when I use a ceramic tile, I'll place the smooth side of the tile up against the fabric. But last week I accidentally placed the back side of the tile that you would put the grout on the fabric, and I got this pattern where the dye kind of went in between the grooves of the tile. And at first I was really kind of upset, but then I really liked it. I only got it on one side because one side of the tile had the grooves up against the fabric and the other side had the smooth side. So I only got that pattern on one side. And I was hoping to get that same pattern on this. I used the same tile and I placed both the groove sides up against the fabric, but I didn't get that pattern. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way the dye flowed, but I was really hoping to get this pattern on both ends of the piece of fabric, and that didn't happen. So I was a little disappointed in that, but I will try it again, or maybe I should do it accidentally and I'll get the results that I want. So those are the three fabrics from yesterday. Our orange, our red orange, and our red. The red being toned down a little bit with the neutral gray. And as you can see on all of these, that makes that orange really stand out a lot more. Otherwise, the red would have been the most prominent color. So that's what we have from yesterday. Now I do want to, I'm going to go back to this little document that I showed last week and talk about the different color schemes just in case you missed it, or just to kind of reinforce what we're going to be working with for the next few weeks. So Here, as I said, color schemes, they're just basically a planned combination of colors that are used together in a design. So that's whether it's a painting, whether it's dyeing fabric like we're doing here, or even landscape. You know, if you're doing some landscape, you're planting a garden, you can set out or work with a specific color scheme. So color schemes are useful for everything. So. So some of the common types of color schemes, we've got our monochromatic, which is basically different tints and tones and shades of one color, such as light blue, medium blue, and navy. Then we have the analogous scheme that we're working with right now. Um, Colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel, such as the yellow, yellow, green, and green. Or in the case of last week, we did yellow, yellow, orange, and orange. And a complementary color scheme, which I find that people like color. They really love the complementary color scheme because they're very vibrant. And that's because the colors are opposite each other on the color wheel and they play off of each other. There's almost this um, they almost vibrate against each other. So you see that with red and green and blue and orange and yellow and violet. Another one is split complementary, and I use that, and I'll have to show you this next week. I did a series of pieces where I used a split complementary color scheme, and it's pretty vibrant too, not as vibrant as the complementary, but instead of using the colors directly across the wheel, you use the colors on either side of that one. So, for example, if you're using red and green, instead of, if red is going to be your primary, instead of using green, you would use blue green and yellow green with the red. And that's the split complementary. And the last one is not the last one, but the last one that I'll probably do is triadic color scheme. And I like to think of this as the Crayola color scheme because the red, yellow, and blue are colors that kids gravitate to when they first start drawing or coloring. And these are colors that are spaced equal distance around the color wheel. And they can be pretty vibrant. When you think of red, yellow, and blue, that's a pretty vibrant color scheme. Okay. And here are some different analogous color schemes. And with analogous, we're just doing three colors, or I'm just doing three colors, but you can expand that to five colors and still have an analogous color scheme. So five colors that are right next to each other. And that will probably give you a little bit more of a range. Well, it will give you a little more of a range. And another thing with that is you start, when you use five colors, you start mixing your warm and cool colors together. So that's something to think about. So, guys, as usual, the second day is pretty short. But if you have any questions, let me know and I will go ahead and answer them for you. Next week, we're going to be doing three more colors. We're going to work with red, red violet, and violet. So we're going to start going into the cool colors. So we're going to have red, which is our warm color, and our uh, blue violet or violet, which is, I guess, kind of a bridge between warm and cool, depending on how much red or blue. Colleen, yes, I intend to. I had hoped to have them done by now, but my grandson is staying with us before he goes to visit with his dad for the summer, and he's basically taken over my computer. He's on there gaming all the time. But yes, I will put those up on my website so that you can download them. Okay, so yes. So, anything else? Any other questions for me before we go? I was afraid today of the weather again. Last night I tried to do a Zoom meeting and I couldn't even record the meeting because the weather was so bad and my internet was so unstable. every time I tried to record, it kicked me out of the Zoom. So I appreciate you guys coming today. And Colleen, I will try to get that up on the website this afternoon. Do you guys, here, let me put my website in the chat. Okay. It's basically my name, but with my middle initial, AngieEKnowles.com. And I have a page on my website called Resources, so I will put it up on that page. So, well, if that's it, yeah, orange is one of my favorites, and there's so much you can do with it. I think it depends on what you use it with, and the orange that you use. If you use that day glow orange, I don't like that. I do usually will tone my orange down. Another one that, to me, in the orange family is coral. I think coral is such a pretty color. But so there's many different ways you can use orange, and I'm glad you're rethinking it, Virginia. I think you probably before was just always thinking about that day glow orange. Oh, thank you, Colleen. His version of fun is gaming all day, so I have to keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't spend all day on the computer gaming with his friends. But I guess that's what preteen boys want to do these days. So thanks, guys, and I hope to see you next week. I will send out, I will do a community post letting you know. And if you're on my mailing list, I always put it in my newsletter. So hope to see you next week. Bye.